Yup. Your eyes and your ears don't lie. And we here again talking about, I guess, your boy, one pump chump, orange faced gremlin, wants to put the United States back on fitness and being healthy again. So you bring in Triple H and Lawrence Taylor. So it make you wonder, and I think Harrison Buckner was there with his old stupid ass. That dude, the stuff that you said at that college, but y'all believe in empowering women and protecting women's rights, but you have somebody like that there. But unfortunately, he shares a lot of the beliefs of many of you so-called conservatives that you want control and power over your women, not equality and a partnership. You want to control and possess them. And that's evident in your behavior, your speech, and your ideology. I don't want an employee. I don't want a subservient. I want a partner. I want somebody where we can contribute to this relationship together and grow. Where she ain't carrying no undue weight and I ain't carrying no undue weight. We build together. We succeed or fail together. That ain't what they talking about. They talking about control, conquering, and basically they just want you to sit there, shut up, and raise a house. But I'm looking at that group of cronies that he has up there, and I don't really know too much about Triple H other than, his wrestling history and all that a little bit. But I do know about Lawrence Taylor. And he knocks out two birds with one stone for these MAGA maggots. Because MAGA's all about molesting all girls anywhere. That's what MAGA stand for. Or it could stand for whichever one you prefer. Molesting and grooming adolescents. Either way, that's what MAGA's about. And they cult with the card-carrying loyalists for the PPL. Oh, you ain't heard of that? Okay, yeah, I made that up. So we call them the PPL because they part of the Pedophile Protection League. That's what they doing now. Where you switch from all this QAnon conspiracy stuff to we just gonna protect the pedophiles. Our cult leader has told us what to believe and we believe it. But I don't even know if that's true because y'all know what he's about because a lot of y'all about that. Because if you weren't, you'd have a problem with this behavior, but you don't. And that brings me back to Lawrence Taylor. We know you a petty. You got arrested more than once for sex with a minor. So for all of y'all that don't believe, depending on the age, no, if you a minor, you a pedophile. If who you was with was a minor, you a pedophile. You a sex offender. You a scumbag. Okay? And it's all horrible regardless of who you are, but that tells you what kind of weirdo shit these people are in when you guys are rich and you're still chasing these little kids and these minors because you're into some weirdo stuff. Robert Kraft from the Patriots, you wasn't in that strip mall with that woman because you're not a weirdo. You guys are into some weirdo shit that you can't have. You don't have normal relations. So you need people that are compromised that you forcing to do some weirdo shit. And it's terrible. And I look up, I'm like, Lawrence Taylor. And you know why he fits two categories for them? Since we know MAGA's racist. But they'll use people of color when it benefits them. So this is your chance to say, we got a black. And of course, everybody can join the club if they're pedophiles. So that's what they're about. We got a token black, and we got a pedophile who's like us. So we have shit we can talk about when we go drinking. When they turn the cameras off, we can identify with each other. Despicable. And you look at everybody in his camp, all these supporters, all this, you got all these people that are getting caught now. But they're not getting caught because you just started. You know what I mean? This is stuff that, you know, what did they say? That most sex offenders have 13 victims? So imagine how many thousands of people are out there. You get the map out and you overlay the red dot map with the country. They're like just big red blobs. They're not individual dots when you go to these territories where Trump won and where MAGA is strong. Those are the biggest red dot places around. And of course, keep it real, you got dots all over the country, but it ain't blotches. They're not even dots. They are blotches where you got huge swaths of them, and they correlate with all this MAGA shit. Because y'all a party of petties. And I don't know what the issue is where I had somebody send me a message talking about, you know, they thought they was being cold smooth when they sent me a message and gonna say how rap music is ruining the black community and all kind of other bullshit. It was racist, but I ain't tripping off that because that's all I expect. One thing's for damn sure, I've been a black man my whole life, so racism ain't new to me. But the fact was that whenever you hit MAGA with some facts, because I wasn't spitting out just nonsense, we talking about numbers that can be verified, factual things, and their first response got to be racist. Because that's all they got. It's either you're going to respond with some bullshit, normally 9 times out of 10 racism, because you won't just say, we don't care. We don't care if he's a pedophile. We don't care if everybody in his cabinet has been accused and wiggled their way out of some lewd acts with minors. You guys don't care. That's the cold hard fact that people need to realize is you guys don't care. And why is that you don't care, that these things don't bother you? And a reasonable person would say, because you're involved in it, or it's so part of your society that you're used to it, or it's been normalized. These are things that are supposed to be disqualifying to normal people. But it's not for y'all. Everything you knew that he's done prior to being president, since when did we stop voting on character and morals? And this ain't to say that they on a higher ground for the Democrats, because any Democrat that's in the Epstein files, you need to be slammed. You need to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And I speak on, you know, they keep bringing up Clinton. Okay, well, I know Clinton said release the Epstein files. Other Democrats have said release the Epstein files. But I'm gonna touch on Mr. Clinton. I know y'all gotta understand the level of scrutiny and background checks that they do on people to be in the proximity of the president. So whether you went to Epstein Island or not, and he's saying that he ain't never been to Epstein Island, but you have flown on his plane, the level of scrutiny that you are put through to even share airspace, you know, with the president, to share oxygen in the same room, the level of scrutiny that you're gonna have to where you're in that personal capacity to have relationships with him, the government knew. You knew what Epstein was about. I know that you knew what they were about because I know what kind of checks you do on people. The security checks, the background checks, and how deep the Secret Service delves into somebody. How you had this man repeatedly at the White House. So, Clinton, you may not have went to Epstein Island and all that, but don't act like you didn't know what he was doing either. Because there's some culpability from everybody in that dude's world. It wasn't new stuff. Epstein was doing this shit since the 80s and the 90s, just like Trump was. Especially since they saying that Epstein knew Melania before Trump. And the modeling agency that she came here through was just a front. You basically hooked up Eastern European women with these rich white men. You basically sold them to them. It was a pimping production where you buy a broad. So that's not a secret. You look at the modeling agency guy and all the crimes he committed, and just because you ain't been convicted because you have enough money to weasel your way out of it and grease the right palms, you got a 15 or 16-year-old pregnant and married a 17-year-old and didn't do no time. So when you look back through, everybody is involved in this that they interact with, that you have business deals with. You only bought the pageant so you could have access to the girls and the women. So it all makes sense unless you refuse to believe it and you're in denial, or you envy the behavior. Because there's a lot of y'all dirty son of a bitches out there that envy that behavior and wish you could do it and get away with it. And there's a lot of y'all that are doing it and have gotten away with it. Because y'all ain't speaking out against it. Y'all started with this conspiracies because you were brainwashed and convinced it was all the Democrats. Because some of y'all were naive. There's a lot of people that jumped on that bandwagon where you were angry, upset, so the hate speech and all of that nonsense that he first started talking about after he came down the escalator, you found something to latch onto because your life has some shit missing because you were internally broken. So you jumped on that bandwagon. You know, when they say give them something to believe in, well, you did what you hate and all your bullshit. And like a lot of people have said, because I ain't the first one to say it, but every accusation that MAGA's putting out there towards others is an admission of guilt by them. So they went so hard on child trafficking and sex abuse and all of that to distract from what they doing. You know, they're trying to be masters of distraction. And you heard all of this. He's going to release the Epstein files. He's going to do this. But you're not educated. You don't know he could have released the Epstein files the first time around. And he didn't because he's in them. At least with the Biden administration. You can go back and see that there were attempts that they tried to release him. And then as it got closer to the end, the victimization that Trump claimed he was, because he claimed he was a victim of political attacks because Biden can't beat him, so he's trying to destroy him politically with these false claims and things like that. Because, you know, anytime Trump's accused of anything, it's fake. It's a hoax. It's manufactured by the Democrats. So after the first 2 years when he couldn't release him because y'all blocked him, he stopped trying to because Trump was already facing 94 different indictments. So he didn't want to look like he was just piling on. But don't sit here and say the Democrats didn't do it because they in him. Trump, you could have released him after he was arrested and convicted. You could have released him after any period of time. So it's just a terrible country from a leadership standpoint that we're in.